How's it going, people? Michael here. In this episode I installed my Hotbodies Fender Eliminator with a bit of a mod. This kit has a bracket that is known to crack easily because it was not designed to hold the weight of the stock lights. So I replaced the stock lights with aftermarket mini lights, which are shorter and lighter. I spent a majority of the installation dismantling the stock Fender with the following tools: a drill, Allen wrench, flat and Phillips screwdrivers, 3 8-inch, 12 and 12 millimeter wrenches, a ratchet with extensions, 10 and 9 millimeter sockets, 2 pairs of pliers, WD-40 and electric tape. This was not an easy mod for me. It took me all afternoon and 2 drain camera batteries. The first step was to open the passenger seat and empty the compartment. Then I removed the 3 screws holding the tail light top fairing. I believe the 3rd screw was added in the 2013 model. The fairing slid towards the rear and up with a bit of wiggling. Here's a close-up view. I then loosened the 4 bolts securing the passenger handles. These were bolted on pretty good. The pop rivets were next, and I made sure not to damage them so that I could reuse them. The center pin must be pulled out to loosen the rivet. When the 4 rivets were removed, I removed the bottom mudguard, which will no longer be needed. The electrical connectors were enclosed in a rubber dust protector. I folded that back so that I could disconnect the wires, but some of them were very tight that my fingers hurt the next day. So I used a pair of pliers. There were 2 screws on either side of the tail light that had to be unscrewed. I had to give it a good push to avoid rounding the screw heads. The bottom screw was more difficult to remove because the metal fender was in the way. I had to give it a push upwards to save the screw head. Next to go were the 2 top bolts securing the fender to the frame using a 12 millimeter socket. Then this screw tucked under the rear fairing. There was one on both sides. The tail light was now ready to be removed, starting from the bottom fairing. This part is going back on the bike afterwards. In the Hotbodies video, Liz removed this 3rd bolt before removing the tail light. I thought it was easier to do it the other way. And then finally, the bulky fender was off the bike, never to return. Well, most of it. I had to remove the 4 screws securing the license plate light because this was going back on the bike. But from this point forward, things were a lot easier.
Bitch.
The license plate light was held on by 2 nuts and washers sandwiching a rubber gasket. These were to be reused in the new license plate bracket. I transplanted the rubber gasket, the washers, the license plate light, and secured the bolt with a 9 millimeter socket. The light had to be pointing down so that it should be oriented towards the return with a hole in it. And here comes my mod to the installation. I bought these mini lights from eBay because I wanted to replace the longer and heavier stock signal lights. The quality was good on one of them, but not so much on the second one, as I could see the excess glue around the seams. Here's a size comparison to the stock signal lights. It only sticks out about halfway from the bracket. I then attached the signal light to the bracket, but I had to fashion a custom rubber washer to secure them to the bracket using leftover parts in my toolbox. I knew these would come in handy one day. My Ontario plate did not match the mounting holes in the license plate holder, so I had to drill new holes on it. Then I used the Allen wrench and a 3/8" wrench to mount the license plate. I fished the signal light wires through the wrong hole at first. They needed to thread through one hole near the front of the new mudguard. I taped the wires to the inside of the mudguard for easy access after the mudguard was installed. The new mudguard was then fitted. The fender bolts will now attach from the bottom instead to secure the mudguard to the frame. These two bolts secure the bracket and the mudguard. After I reconnected the wires, I tested them first before mounting them. They checked out good. The license plate light slid and snapped into place at the back of the new fender. Then I rebolted the rear bolts from the bottom. From this point forward, it was like the first part of disassembly, but in reverse order. Here's a portrait of the bulky parts of the stock fender, never to return to the bike. As I said earlier, this installation wasn't easy because the disassembly part was so difficult. Installing the new fender was easy peasy. The mini lights only drew 2 watts of power, causing the bike's burnout indicator to go off by hyperflashing. In a future video, I will install resistors to correct that. I hope I don't have to replace my license plates often because I would have to disassemble the fender to get to the mounting screws. But overall, I'm loving the new clean look of my bike. If you have the Hotbodies Fender Eliminator, let me know what you did to fix the bracket issue by adding your comments below. And that concludes this episode. Please click the like button if you like this video and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching.